We break down the safety position next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. And also download the podcast. Just search for Unbearable Sports everywhere that you get your podcast. So Spotify, Apple Music. Just search Unbearable Sports and you can listen to this show on the go. I know there's not a lot of Bears stuff out there right now, but so make sure to download it out there. So we continue our countdown to camp series where we break down all the different position groups and talk about the starters, the backups, the undrafted players as well, people that you should keep an eye out for as we kind of get closer and closer to camp. Then we also break down some over and unders that I set, some fun little numbers out there. And then last but not least, we ask if we got better at that given position group. So today it's the safeties. We broke down every single offensive position. So if you haven't already, make sure to listen to those. We go into the quarterback episode. It was just half of it was stats. I hope y'all like that. It was like 50% stats that I found just because the quarterback position is so stat heavy. So bunch of stats out there for it, but with the safeties, it's going to be a little less stat intensive, but more talking about how this position group shapes out, not just this year, but the following year as well. So as we always do, let's break down some roster changes. And when you look at this overall safety group, nothing has really changed. Adrian Colbert, who is a sweetheart of the HBO Max series, he is someone who's no longer here. Quindell Johnson, someone that the Bears did add, 2 years ago, not with the team anymore. And Douglas Coleman, no longer with the team. But really, you still have the same starting lineup. So really, you're just swapping out some of the backups out here. So Kevin Byard is still your starting free safety, with Jaquan Brisker as your starting strong safety. Backups, Elijah Hicks, Jonathan Owens are the primary backups. And still, your third stringer is still Tarvarius Moore, which I think a lot of people forget about because he was a starter at Green Bay. He was someone that, yet again, not a fantastic player, but as your third safety, I still really like that he's at least on there. I think this is one of the deepest position groups we have because we saw what happened when Jaquan Brisker went down. Elijah Hicks, Jonathan Owens stepping up. We'll talk a little bit more about those later. But then later on, too, we have Alex Cook, who has been around the NFL for just a couple of years out there. This is his third year in the NFL. And then the undrafted rookie free agents, which we'll talk about more. Taiishim Johnson out of Oregon, and also Major Burns out of LSU. So let's now talk about some of the starters, and we'll just keep on breaking down some of these people that we have at the position. So first off, Jaquan Brisker. Now, Jaquan Brisker is someone that is a big-time story this year. This is the biggest story coming out because Jaquan Brisker has had a lot of head injuries. Now, I know people are going to say, well, he's been super, super banged up. Well, not quite. If you look at it, Kyler Gordon, someone who not a lot of people complain about being banged up, has never made it past 15 games. Last season, Kyler Gordon played the most games of his career at 15. Besides that, 13 and 14. With Jaquan Brisker, in 2022, he played 15 games. In 2023, he played 15 games. And in 2024, last year, only played 5 games. And in those 5 games, I don't have the exact ESPN stat, but he had over like 50 it was like something crazy where he had 40 tackles, I think it was. So he was like on track to get 120 tackles on the season if he played a full season. Like very, very, very good from Jaquan Brisker's perspective. Just was playing very good football out there until he got banged up. But that's the story. That is some of you might have already thought about this. That is the fear with concussions. Because, yeah, you might have gotten a concussion in 2022. You're out 1 week, you're good. In 2023, you might get another concussion. Out a week, you're good. But they stack up. And I think that is the biggest storyline that's coming in because Jaquan Brisker, when you look at this safety group, everyone has 1-year deals. Jaquan Brisker, 1 year left. Kevin Byard, 1 year left. Then you go to Elijah Hicks, 1 year left. Like there's all these 1 year left players at this safety position. And that to me is the biggest question is do we have any long-term safeties or next year safeties at least? If Kevin Byard you want to bring back, do we have anybody that we want to keep longer term? Brisker has been very vocal about this on social media, and I love it. I love that Jaquan Brisker is out there and is like, listen, come back stronger. And he's got all this stuff, and I love it. And I love Jaquan Brisker, the player. He is so much fun to watch, and he's just plays with reckless abandon, which is part of the reason why he got hurt. He is just such a tone setter out there too. And you saw when he did go down, you kind of saw this run defense struggle as well. Brisker's a very, very good player. One of my favorite, I still said this, he was one of my favorite safeties coming out of the draft back in 2022 because he was just a pure strong safety. He can cover, he can tackle, he could do it all. And that is where it's hard. Concussions are such an enigma of, we're learning more and more about concussions, but that's just where I just hope for his safety is the number one thing for me. And I really do hope that we don't talk about his concussions anymore. I hope that this year it's a different story. It's a different tune. Is Manny's good. And you look at the PFF grades, 65.3 defensive grade last season, 66.7 the year before that, and then 67 his highest graded season as a rookie. Now, yet again, these are just grades, and you might be thinking 65, that's not good. Keep in mind, like 60-ish is basically average. So Jaquan Brisker, I agree. Like he's played as like a good safety. He's someone that you just would like to have around there and someone that is a big time enforcer. So Brisker, I just want to see him healthy out there. That's my key thing is just want to see him healthy, just want to see him playing. And I think then the question is, if he stays healthy, do they feel good enough about those head injuries to then keep him on long term? And if you have a strong opinion about it, let me know. But I still think that Brisker is he's a tone setter. That I keep going back to that. Love Jaquan Brisker. But now we go over to the other safety, Kevin Byard, someone that I really, really liked when they made this signing because, yes, he's going to be 32 this year, and he was 31 when we signed him. The big thing about Kevin Byard is this guy is just reliable, knock on wood. He played every single game last season, and you just see it. For those that are looking out here on my screen, he's played in over 1,000 snaps since basically his rookie year. That was the only time he didn't play over 1,000 snaps. And you hear, like when you have rookies and younger players, and seeing a player like a Kevin Byard who has been there and showing you this is how you take care of your body, this is how you make sure that you can play every single snap. And when he's out there, he's very good. A 7% missed tackle rate, which at a safety position, really, really good. And actually, it was one of his worst when you actually look at the stats, because the season before that was 5.9, season before that 4.7, but still just a very reliable tackler. But he can also intercept the ball. He can also get those interceptions. Now, last season, he did not get the interception numbers that we were hoping for. I know a lot of us wanted the 4+ seasons that Kevin Byard has typically gotten. He's been a ball hawking safety. He's been a very good center fielder. And we just didn't see that. But I think also, too, when our team could not stop the run, he had to do a lot more. He had to do a lot of other things. But I think that Byard is a great fit inside of this system. You know that Al Harris is going to want these defensive backs to be flying around out there. We're really talking with the corners in particular. But really inside of this defense, I really want to see how Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker both look in this system because, you look at like a Tyrann Mathieu. I don't really think we have one on this team. I think it's going to be, or at the safety spot, I think it's going to be more of like the Kyler Gordon potentially. But when you look at just the pure safeties, I still love Kevin Byard as a deep cover safety. Still a very good player. Not an elite safety by any means, but someone that can stay healthy, knock on wood again, someone that can stay healthy and give you good plus play. Last season, grading out at 7.2.8 from the PFF grades, and 7.2.8 the year before that, and 79.5 the year before that. So 72.8 and 72.8 the past two seasons. Not bad at all. But this is also another question. And yet again, if someone wants to comment down there, Do you think that they're going to actually re-sign Kevin Byard? Because to me, I feel it might be, I think it's actually probably more likely that they re-sign Byard than Brisker because of Brisker's injury history, unfortunately. And also Byard too. I don't think that they need to do necessarily something in season, but they could because they've re-signed veterans like this with Andrew Billings, where you have someone that is a good staple to have there and someone that plays their role very, very well. If Byard is part of this system and he seems like he's a good fit, yeah, I could totally see them just doing another, hey, we'll just get you an extra year so that you don't have to worry about it. And we know that we at least have one person at this safety position set in stone. So now we got to talk a little bit about this backup depth out here, because the whole thing, and actually one other thing about Kevin Byard that I think is very interesting, Kevin Byard also led the team in tackles last season. That's not good. That's a testament to just how bad of a run defense team we were. Up front, we were awful. So anytime that your safety's leading, it's not necessarily, like, obviously it's good on Byard that he made all those tackles, but it's also bad at the linebackers and defensive line position of them not, they need to be the ones making the tackles up front, not Byard. So with the big thing with that is kudos to Byard, no kudos given out to our linebackers and defensive line. So let's talk a little bit about the backups, because unfortunately we saw them out there a little bit more. And if Brisker is still a little bit banged up, then we're going to see more of these backups. But yet again, like I said, I really like the backups that we have in place. And I'll start out by talking about Elijah Hicks. Like I said, Elijah Hicks coming into his last year of his rookie deal, and last season played over 350 snaps for the Bears, 206 in coverage, 149 in run defense. So he's had to fill in a pinch. Now, the big thing with Elijah Hicks, in my opinion, is typically he's always been more of a center fielder. That is what he played at California. He was just kind of this rangy center fielder that they drafted in the 7th round. And I still feel like that's his best role. That's why he's slated as essentially the backup as Byard if he ever were to actually go down. Thankfully, he doesn't. But Elijah Hicks still was able to slot in and play a good, meaningful amount of snaps last season, earning his highest grade at 71.8 and getting his highest run defense grade at 81.6 and is also his highest coverage grade at 64. Now, I still feel like his best attribute is his pass defense. I still think that that's his best spot because, yes, he was a lot better, only a 5.6% missed tackle rate, which is phenomenal. The season before that was 20.6% missed tackle rate. That's why I think a lot of people, like when you hear Elijah Hicks, it's like, oh yeah, he missed a bunch of tackles, because we remember 2023, but he did step up a lot last season. So hopefully he's just taken another step forward. Do I think he gets re-signed or anything like that? That's always tough because he was not drafted by this, this new coaching regime, right? He was drafted by Ryan Poles, but now you have Dennis Allen. So it's really going to be, how does he appeal to Dennis Allen? And I don't necessarily think of him as a starter, but he's a very good value backup to have on this team. He's an NFL player. I personally like him at that center field role, like I had mentioned before, but someone that, yet again, in that pinch was able to play very, very good. So last year of Elijah Hicks, we'll see what he ends up being able to put together, but still very, very good depth. You could have worse depth at that free safety position. That's where safeties, I love our position group with that, with having Elijah Hicks as the backup for Kevin Byard. But now if we continue to the other one, Mr. Gold Medal himself, Jonathan Owens, he played 429 snaps for the Bears last season. And before that was a starter out there in Green Bay, played over 900 snaps. And then the season before that, played over 900 snaps, was a starter for the Houston Texans. So I always say this, right? A good backup, if you're a below average starter, you're a good backup. And that's exactly what Jonathan Owens is. If he's starting for you, I don't necessarily love that. But if he's your backup that's coming in a pinch, I really like that. And last season had one of his highest graded seasons at 66.5 from PFF's grades. So very good season for him. But also, I agree. I thought that he played very, very well last season. He earned an 88.6 run defense grade, got his nose out there and made some big tackles. But yeah, I just thought that his play is good, right? And you could get significantly worse than Jonathan Owens. I really like him as the backup again. And yet again, I don't really want to see these people out there, but it's nice to know that if Brisker were to go down, you have Jonathan Owens backing up Brisker. You have Hicks backing him up as well. Feel very good about that position. Now, the other piece that I want to talk about too is that the age piece with these four safeties. Because when we talk about Jaquan Brisker, he's 26 years old. Yet again, that gives you good runway. And we know that Ryan Poles likes to hand out 3-year deals. That's where, hey, if he plays this, it's perfect. You give him a 3-year deal, he gets a new one that goes out until he's 30 years old, and then you can decide from there. So that's where it's a perfect setup for Brisker. Fired, like we said, if anything, it's going to be 1 year just because he's going to be 32 during the season. And Elijah Hicks, I actually do not have his date of birth out there, but yet again, younger, like a Jaquan Brisker. But Jonathan Owens will be 30 actually just in a couple weeks. So he'll be 30 years old. So will he be re-signed? Yet again, more so just a backup. I think he'll now just be a permanent kind of backup player that someone can be adding in. But yet again, all these players, the story of it is, can you impress Dennis Allen? Can Dennis Allen look at you and say, I like the way you fit my system. You get it, right? Because this could be one of the positions that they completely overhaul in the draft next year, that they completely overhaul in free agency, because they really didn't touch this all that much besides just the backups in Alex Cook, Taiishim Johnson, and Major Burns. So, like we were saying, we'll talk a little bit about some of these far down backups. So, Tarvarius Moore, yet again, I really like him as your third safety. Someone that has some starting experience, but someone that, yet again, just like him as a backup. Backup for a backup, but not necessarily a starter. So, relegated down to that role, and Alex Cook being another player that probably don't expect him to make the team at all, but just for if anyone's curious about who he is, he played for the Washington Huskies and this is his, I believe, third season in the NFL, and in 2024 was out there with Carolina. He has not played a regular season snap, but in preseason in 2024 netted a 53.7 PFF grade, and with Carolina, and with the Giants in 2023 netted a 67.7 PFF grade. So not bad, yet again, preseason person. So we'll be able to see him a little bit more out there, but still a very young player if they're looking for younger depth. So I know everybody wants to know about these undrafted rookies, because that is the story. And it starts with one of the coolest names. We had Major Wright, so why not Major Burns, someone who was with LSU for 4 seasons, kind of starting over 500 snaps last season, over 800 snaps the season before, and was with Georgia all the way back in 2020. So a little bit older of a rookie, but still not too insanely old. But he's 6'2", 200 pounds, undrafted rookie free agent out of LSU, like we mentioned. And what I can tell you about this guy is when I watched him, and yet again, not grinding absolute all 22 of every single snap of Major Burns, but just seeing how he plays fast. He's a very quick, athletic safety, which you kind of expect out of an SEC type of a defensive back. So with him being that, maybe you can tap into something. If you look at his PFF grades, not great. Yet again, they're just PFF grades. But typically, you want someone that's in the college game having positive grades. He had a 57.7 last year, and then the season before that, 62.1 grade, and then the season before that, 64. So nothing too impressive, but yet again, it's more on his athleticism than anything else that I see. But it's not promising, seeing a 19.6% missed tackle rate last season at the safety position. Yet again, more of an athlete than anything else. So I think whenever you bring in an athlete like a Major Burns, you're really talking about what can they do, and do they fit in the NFL? Because if they don't, it's a quick cut. You don't talk to them again. You know exactly what you have with them. But they might click and you might say, hey, we have something. You have the NFL athleticism. Maybe we can coach you up. But someone that not a lot of people are talking about is Taiishim Johnson out of the Oregon Ducks. I know we got some people from Oregon out there, so I always double check. I always mentally prepare myself to say Oregon. So with the Oregon faithful, Taiishim Johnson, he played for Ole Miss in 2021 and 2022, netting a 62.7 grade in 2021 and a 72.4 in with over 650 snaps. But then transfers over to the Ducks and plays over 700 snaps in 24 and in 23, netting a 69.2 grade last season and a 67.8 grade before that. Now, what can I tell about his actual play besides just these numbers? But what I can tell you is even Major Burns is more along the lines of athlete, very athletic safety. Taiishim Johnson, not saying he's not athletic, he has still good athleticism, but when you just see him play, he just seems like he understands the safety position a little bit more. And the grades reflect that from what I was seeing with him. It just seems like it reflects that as well. We also watched him play against Colston Loveland when we were doing our all-22 tape and was able to bring down Colston Loveland on a screen in the open field. So, and you look at it too, 9.3 missed tackle grade, very good. Last year, 5.8 the year before that. And then as a freshman, it was 24.5, but he still was playing over 500 snaps. So this is a very seasoned safety that's coming in as a UDFA. This is the person that I think we should be watching out for rather than Major Burns being just such a cool name. And he kind of has more flash to how he plays. Taiishim Johnson, I think, has a legitimate chance to be on this practice squad because he's just seemingly a good all-around player. So Taiishim Johnson, he's the person I'm watching out for out of these undrafted rookies. So I'm still rooting for Major Burns just because that's freaking awesome. That's an awesome name. But yeah, it'd be awesome to have a Burns jersey too. It's just all-time name team right there. So let's go over to our over-unders and let's talk about this. So for those new, these are for the safety position. This is not for the entire group. This is purely for the safety position. So first one, the safeties only had 3 total interceptions all of last season. So I'm setting the number at 3.5. Over or under on the interceptions? Because to me, when I was looking back at this and I was seeing some of the interception numbers, I was thoroughly disappointed because we didn't really intercept the ball too well. The defense was, as we say, gross. With this has got to be over, right? When you have a Kevin Byard and you have, if Brisker's able to come back, and I believe Brisker actually had one of the interceptions as well. Like, just if you get him back, you're going to feel a lot better about this team. So, yes, injuries happen. That is a thing, but come on. We have to at least go 2-2 or one of the backups get one. I want to say over because we should. Like, that's the thing. I wanted more interceptions. I love interceptions. They're one of the most epic plays and just fun plays to see. I'm saying over. Then next, we're going to kind of switch the mood. Games played for Jaquan Brisker. Over under 9.5. Now, this is tough. Like we said, the whole concussion piece, right? I think it's going to be, I want to say this about the 9.5, because like we said, 15 in 2022, 15 in 23. I'm going to say over because I never want to, like, for some stuff like this, I don't want to root down, especially if it's a concussion related type of piece, because I do believe that Jaquan Brisker, we're either going to see him a lot or we're going to see him very, very little, less than what we saw last year. That's my take, because we're going to see how serious this concussion thing is. We're going to see how serious his injuries are, because if it's not that bad, then we'll see him the entire season or most of the season. But if it is, you're going to see it worse. Like we said, this is unfortunately what happens with injuries like this. They just get worse. So Brisker, I'm hoping. I'm going to say over for this as well. This position group, it's a lot of hope. It's a lot of hope for this. And next we have extensions. So this is mid-season extensions. It's set at 0.5. I'm going to say over. And this is extensions for the safety position. And I'm going to say over because I think that Byard, if he's healthy, if he's playing well, I could see them saying, let's just lock him in. Let's just get this done. He's a veteran. He teaches people how to do their jobs. Let's go. And then also, too, there's so many other safeties out there as well with like your backups. I'm going to say over. I'm going to say that there's got to be at least one. So I'm going to say over. A little We're the most optimistic about our safeties. But then last but not least, Pro Bowl set at 0.5. Will there be one that hits the Pro Bowl? I'm going to say no. It's just safety is a very difficult position to make the Pro Bowl. You need a lot of name recognition. And Byard could have a great season. Byard and Brisker both have the advantage of being B last name, so they're at the very top of the list. Like, legit, that's actually a thing. You're at the top of the list. You could get voted in. But I think there's a lot of very good safeties, and I just don't think that one has necessarily a breakout. I would love it to be Brisker. If he's able to play that and play at a Pro Bowl, heck yeah. But I'm going to say under for the Pro Bowl because it's tough to get in. So that's what I have. Let me know in the comments what you believe about that. And last but not least, did we get better? The last little piece that we love talking about. So when we grind what happened last season and last season to this season, Kevin Byard from last season to this season, I do think, right, even though that it's the same person, I think he's going to just natural age. I think if anything, he's going to take a slight step back. But the safety position ages relatively gracefully. And I think Byard's going to continue to do that. So that's why I think he's going to be right in the middle. I don't think he gets better. I don't think he gets worse. Jaquan Brisker, like I said, I took the over on number of games played. And so I'm going to say that he's better this season because he can play more games. So I'm going to have arrow up on him. And then we look at last season with the backups, Elijah Hicks and Jonathan Owens. I don't really think that there's a spot that you can say that I don't think one is necessarily going to look better or anything like that. I think actually Jonathan Owens, if anything, is going to regress back to the mean. Like we said, he played one of his better seasons last year, according to PFF, but also according to us just literally watching him. I think that there's going to be some natural regression with both Hicks and Owens. So actually, I'm going to say that they kind of regress back to the mean a little bit and kind of get a little normalized with it because I thought they played better than expected last season. And then Tarvarius Moore, not really, and Alex Cook did not see much from him. But when you look at the backups that we replaced with Adrian Colbert and Douglas Coleman, we do not see Douglas Coleman. We have Taiishim Johnson and Major Burns coming in. Technically, I would say that Adrian Colbert is an upgrade over some of these undrafted rookies because we just have not seen them. So if I'm looking at this overall, I think that if you factor in some of the depth, I think it'll like I said, the word of the day is natural regression. I think that we're going to see some of that with some of the backups. I still love this group, but I think because I'm optimistic about Brisker, right? If you're optimistic about Brisker being able to play and being able to play long term, this position group got better because your safety, your starting safety should be out there more and in return should be better. And right? So the position group should get better. But on the other hand, you lost a lot of depth. So, and also Brisker could miss the entire season with a lot of this, and he has not played for quite some time. So with any of this, me personally, if you look at it and you flip back and forth, like I said, Adrian Colbert, that is a loss. Unless one of the UDFAs all of a sudden balls out. But I'm going to say that this is one of the spots that I'd say that because we didn't really do much. People got older. People played very good last season at the position. I'm going to say that this is one that is slightly on the down. So don't be too down, though, on this because I pumped up the offense so much, and it does not mean this position group is bad. I still love this safety position group. So if you love this safety position group too, make sure to hit that like button on the way out. It helps out the channel tremendously. We're going to continue previewing this defensive side of the football with the cornerbacks coming up next. So make sure to stay tuned. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a